The moment is here, you can stop your search. It's Comics by Perch.
Hey everybody, this is Perch. We have I've been asked, several of you have written in mails asking me to comment on Marvel Phase 6 or the next batch of movies. So why not? So we'll go ahead and do that. Now, the Marvel Phase 6 is being at least thematically linked to Marvel Phase 3. And Marvel Phase 3 had the Avengers Infinity War and Endgame and was seen as the big conclusion to the first arc. So, the Phase 6 is seen as similarly another big conclusion to the second arc. I think the challenge is the second arc, phases 4, 5, and 6, unless something really major happens in the next couple of movies, this next arc doesn't feel particularly impactful, meaning a lot of phase 1, 2, and 3 was the buildup of Thanos, and you had this overlooming threat. You're introducing a bunch of new characters, kind of the big core iconic characters. And so there's a lot going on with the first three phases that are not really going on with phase 4, 5, and 6. Phase 4, 5, and 6 gave us the Eternals and Shang-Chi and a new Black Panther and, the end of the Guardians of the Galaxy and some other stuff. So, I mean, there's not really this sense that this current phase is I don't want to say is a big deal, but it doesn't have the same impact. All that said, Phase 6 is supposed to give us the new Fantastic Four in 2025, Avengers: The Kang Dynasty in 2026, and Avengers: Secret Wars in 2027. So that's and then we got a bunch of other movies. So to be specific, those are the only three movies announced for Phase 6. However, we have two in fall of 2024, winter 2024, 2025, spring 25, summer 25, and another summer 2025. So we have, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 other movies in there at least that are coming out during that time period. So a lot more is coming. So the question is, what are those things coming? So, you've been looking around at Fantastic Four. They have not revealed the casting so far. There's been a lot of kind of grain of salt casting. We do not know if, John Krasinski is going to come back. He was in Doctor Strange. It feels like it would be crazy for Marvel not to put him in that role, but who knows? They say they're still early in the process and nobody really knows. We don't know what the Kang Dynasty is going to be, other than Kang will be in it in some way. Watching Ant-Man and seeing kind of the conclusion of, the kind of in-credit scene, both of which were Kang related. One which is supposed to tie into Loki season 2. The other is a bunch of Kangs just running around looking ridiculous. It was goofy. Like that's not. If you think about the buildup of Thanos as a big threat, the buildup of Kang is just like, this does not seem like a threat. This just seems ridiculous is how it comes across. Now, also the actor has some issues, but who knows? Anyway, and then we've got, and by the way, the Kang Dynasty is being directed by Shang-Chi director Destin Cretton. And then you have Avengers: Secret Wars, which, all we know about that is they're teasing a big thing will happen. And it may be tied to Secret Wars. And when they say Secret Wars, they mean the 2015 version, which means kind of the incursion. We've heard about incursions already in the movie, so maybe they're going to go the Jonathan Hickman route. But at any rate, we don't know what's happening there. And we also don't have a director for it either, which means these two movies that are supposed to tie into each other, like Infinity War and Endgame, are not, we have a completely different director for both films. Usually that bodes ill for it. But, in terms of rumors, we've seen a bunch of things. We know that there is a Shang-Chi 2 on the books. We know there's an Eternals 2 and a Black Panther 3. So both films are, in theory, coming. My feeling is that Shang-Chi 2 and Black Panther 3 seems a little bit more likely. But I'm, other than people want to see, Harry Styles show up in Eternals 2, maybe, I don't know who's really asking for that movie. It did not do terribly well, and it's viewing on Disney Plus in kind of after effects is it's one of the lowest watched movies apparently. So I don't know what they do there if they keep going back to that. Then there's other things. We have a Doctor Strange 3 that in theory is most likely coming out. You have a Thor 5 that probably comes out. You have a Spider-Man. You definitely in the Sonyverse. You have a Spider-Man 4, 5, and 6 that they're working on. Although Tom Holland is apparently saying he's sick of Spider-Man and fuck that shit. So, we'll see if any of that happens. You do have a couple things that have been announced. You have Armor Wars that I believe is coming out on Disney Plus, and then you have Wonder Man, which is on hiatus due to the writer's strike. You have a couple other things. There's been talk of maybe another Moon Knight. It's all but certain we'll get a third season of Loki. And then they've been building up a lot of the young characters. So it feels like a Young Avengers film or Disney Plus series is almost certainly going to happen. You have an Ironheart series that's in development as well, but is on hold also for the writer's strike. So you have a handful of things in there. I think there's talk of they want to do something with the Scarlet Witch at some point. Nova has come up as well. And then of course you have the entire kind of the X-Men is coming at some point. They bought this license from Fox, and it's all but certain that we will get some kind of X-Men film or franchise or something. You also have Deadpool 3, which will bring back Hugh Jackman, and that Deadpool is supposed to kind of, in theory, bring him into the Marvel Universe, although it could just be kind of a wink and a nod that he's showing up in the Marvel Universe as opposed to anything really specific. But that's, those are the films that are coming out. There's still a ton. I mean, even with everything I mentioned, you've still got kind of about 8 other movies that you need to do. Given that they're doing the Marvels with Captain Marvel, Spectrum or whatever, other Captain Marvel, and then Miss Marvel, it feels to me unlikely that we're going to get just a Captain Marvel 2, and Brie Larson seems to be at least a little, tired or irked about playing the character again. I don't know. But and then there's been talk of maybe they do a Hulk movie or something at some point that could be something that they decide to do. So I think there's some other candidates in there. I think in general, you have the Captain America movie in there. What can I forget? Old Seth Rollins from the WWE is going to supposed to be showing up in that. I think at some point, I think Marvel's got to figure out who the big franchise players are for this series and how they want to handle that. I think they don't have a great idea of what to do for a lot of their films. They just at the end of the day, they don't have a lot of kind of big franchise plays to do until you tap into the X-Men. And it doesn't feel like they want to do that until they open up Secret Wars. So, maybe we get some kind of X movie that leads into it, kind of like Captain Marvel led into, bookended between the 2 Avengers films. But other than that, Marvel, the MCU really finds itself in a place where a lot of the original characters have moved on to other things. They haven't built up the next kind of roster well. They've closed more than they've started. So the original Captain America done, Iron Man done, Black Widow done, Hawkeye kind of, Guardians of the Galaxy done. I mean, if you look at a lot of what they have, they just haven't been able to bring in the new characters. And they kind of went, if you think about the Marvel Universe, they went from kind of the kind of A-list, kind of big characters everybody knew. And rather than kind of mix in some of the other A-list characters they haven't gotten to yet, like the Fantastic Four and X-Men, they went in with a bunch of the B and the C-list characters in an attempt to kind of, we can make magic. I really think that Guardians of the Galaxy kind of screwed it up for them a little bit, because I think they took the lesson from that, hey, we can do anything and it will make a ton of money. And the reality is, I think you can't keep doing anything. You could do a few anythings. You can do 1 or 2, but you got to mix it up with a lot of the mainstream stuff. I think if Guardians of the Galaxy had come out without being surrounded with a bunch of kind of more mainstream, big kind of Marvel properties, I suspect Guardians wouldn't have done as well. I think it needs to be that kind of, here's a bunch of people and here's something different. And what they've been doing for a while now is here's something different is kind of all they're doing. And so that leads us to where we are. Anyway, there you go. There's your Marvel Phase 6. Here's what's going on. I didn't mention, I take it back. I did not mention you've got Daredevil, Born Again, and supposedly they're at least kicking around the idea of something to do with the Punisher, although they're not sure yet. So maybe there will be characters there too. We'll see where I'm. The other one, actually, I take it back. She-Hulk is likely to pop up again. Feels very, very likely. And, at the moment, there's not a runaway hit. And Marvel's looking for that big new character runaway hit, somebody people will rally around, and they just don't have it. So who's the next Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man character that's going to carry it for a little while? I suspect that, they're going to try and, if I'm Marvel, and for all we know, they're going to do this, if they're going to lead up to Fantastic Four, and they think Fantastic Four is a really big, really important movie, then get John Krasinski and put him, Kowalski, and then put him in this film, and, just start feeding him into other movies, sprinkle him into a bunch of the Phase 5 films as a cameo to start building up the importance of him, sort of like you had Robert Downey Jr. appearing in stuff. That's probably the smartest, best thing you could do, because he does have charisma and some star power, and outside of him, who else you got? So this would be a much, much different story, I think, if Captain Marvel had actually gotten over, and if we hadn't had the untimely passing of Boson of the Black Panther. I think both those, one movie just didn't hit like they hoped, and the other, you had, a very, very charismatic actor and a pretty kind of cool character that didn't carry over like they had hoped, and so, they're left with a lot of new, and the new hasn't caught yet. So, anyway, let me know what you think. Are you excited for any of this? Let me know in the comments below, and thanks for listening.